ZDZ, I mean, he is a carry player, and I feel like ZDZ in the past has been underrated as that Renekton ban specifically against him despite it being strong in the meta, but for now, it looks like they're just going to set up the mid-jungle 2v2. Some teams, Nymaera, are still hovering towards this, even in 13-12, with a lot of other mid options away.
I think it's very hard to move away from like the style of mid-jungle 2v2 that you're practiced with. I think for teams which have struggled a bit more. I am a little surprised that we haven't seen the Ahri Vi as consistently, and as you can see, Tianzhen kind of hovering towards some of those other picks which would combo up very well with the Ahri. The last game I remember seeing of Nocturne Ahri was actually in the early C. I think it was Mad Lions that played out with that. Your engage range is absolutely absurd, and if someone is in a side lane, Ahri, Nocturne come flying in with their ultimates. They get to cross so many walls and so much distance, and having something like a Camille can also help with it. This is a very top-sided draft that they're currently hovering over from AL, so as much as we were talking about iBoy and Zorah, this is a lot of damage and combinations you can have towards the top side of the map, honestly, from both teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, cementing it with the cannon as well, just hits that point on the head as bot side completely untouched. Milio, Rel, Nautilus, Nymaera, we could go on with the list. Supports have been the priority ban here. Just kind of letting whatever 80 carries left up and available, maybe outside of Varus, find its way through.
Varus has kind of been creeping his way back in. Feels like he's had a much easier laning phase. You hit a couple of 80 carries here, and something like a Kai'Sa becomes a lot more valuable too, because all Kai'Sa needs to do is survive laning phase, and we have a lot of very good Kai'Sas here in the LPL. We have a lot of people to learn from. That's exactly why it's gone. It's taken off the table, not being allowed that one.
iBoy was a bit of a god like Varus when he was playing on EDG in 2018, 2019. So I'm just going to hold that thought. There is Draven against Ard as well. It makes a lot of sense when you've seen how these guys play the 2v2. And so outside of what I was expecting, it was only one support ban. We just got to see, Nymaera, do IG get rid of the Rel? Do they care about it that much? Or are they just going to focus on something like the Varus here instead that we highlighted before? Surely, right? I mean, it is iBoy. Again, fantastic Varus historically.
Okay, it's going to be the Rakan. So I think Rakan is one of the more mobile supports that you had left for the combo. And of course, iBoy, no slouch on the Xayah either. Removes that combo at least. It's one of your few remaining options which has answers to the Vi ultimate. Very few AD carries have that self-heal capability. However, if you want to add into your own combo, into your own engage, something like that, Aphelios, would be very, very valuable. So you get the Gale Force forwards, throw your Moonlight Vigil out alongside something like a Kennen or the Nocturne Ahri combo. So that's very valuable. But then again, on the other side now, that Xayah self-heal is also very valuable versus a lot of the point and click and huge follow-up from anyone's Legend.
And for someone like Wink as well, who's favored some of these engaged supports, he has the options to partner with this. Blitzcrank's been played by Wink quite a bit, actually. Things like the Nautilus as well, just to keep that left over. IG, their bottom lane, their 2v2, has been something to kind of marvel at, whether it's been great or bad throughout the split, throughout a couple of splits now as well. But putting Wink on engaged Nymaera, putting him on agency, feels like the right way to go with this, I guess, new IG team.
Hovering between two sides of a matchup that's likely to come through. If you lock in the Braum, the Nautilus is probably going to get locked in by Zorah anyway. They take the Nautilus away. Now, you are really looking to keep on theme with this draft, if at all possible, from Zorah, something that can go forward. So something like Leona might not go amiss. We could also see potential of something like Alistar. Tends to be okay into this melee support matchup. However, if you want to have something which does better in the laning phase, can't necessarily go towards something like that Braum as well. I think Wink knew what was up. If you didn't pick the Braum or the Nautilus, the other one was going over the other side. That is going to be the Braum rounding out the draft from AL. So it's better in laning phase, maybe. Not exactly sure how that's going to be working alongside the aggressive combo, though.
But I'll tell you one thing for both comps, level 6 is going to be a hell of a lot of fun here. As we know, the LPL will never say no to a skirmish. And both these teams, those go buttons, Nymaera, it feels like they just sit in 6 naturally, as you expect the action to pop from there. So, level 6, a lot of farming involved in that one. Nocturne is not bad at bullying out some jungle matchups early on if he runs into them, especially with Vi having a number of nerfs over the last the last couple of years of pro play. She's been so dominant, has felt like it's taken an awful lot of hits to try and get that champion back into line. Very interested to see who starts to kind of make the most of their priority lanes and whether these junglers can get an early level 6 off of that. Well, we'll wait and see. As Nymaera said, we'll start off the game with a bit of farming and lead into it as IG and AL fighting for tournament life here. IG feel like they're already out, guys. Let's be real. 2-9. How do you recover from that? But 4-7 ain't the worst. AL actually have a chance of making a dream run. We said their schedule is one of the hardest left remaining with LNG, Weibo, OMG, Top Esports. But if you win here, anything's possible. As we've all seen, the Kung Fu Panda can do absolutely anything. Look at the logo. Tell me I'm wrong as we round up into game number 1 to see who can get the party started. Look, I'll be honest. AL, I haven't casted them much this split, but I am looking forward to it. Whenever Xiaohao's on the Rift, whenever iBoy's on the Rift, you get entertainment. Regardless of what split it is, that thing stays the same. As we finally welcome you here.
And of course, the LGDs at the end of the JOs. It is tradition at this point. So, onto the Rift we go. Xiaohao, for those of you who are kind of tracking this player's progress in spring and then into summer as well, I kind of characterized him as the Lee Sin player, kind of left in the LPL. Felt like AL were finding some of those few and far between wins when they were struggling more in spring with those early game pressure junglers. But recently it has felt like Xiaohao's had a lot of value out of something like this Nocturne. Still allowing you to be aggressive, but not necessarily in the early parts of the game. More about that mid-game. Cryi's going to get a good trade here. Gets the stun. In fact, going to be able to walk away even from any kind of counter trade. Gets rid of that bone plating very early from Harder.
That's the perfect way to start off, isn't it? Cryin has been kind of the cornerstone of some of IG's success. Had some really big pop-off series, or rather games, I think even within some of the losing series this split. It's been nice to see as he's, you know, joined a squad that is a little bit messy at the moment. YSCam inconsistency, to say the least, as some trading to start off this top side as well with ZDZ getting favorable. But him and Tianzhen, I think, have been some of the weakest members of IG so far. As this time, Tianzhen on something a little bit more normal, I guess. Walking away from things like the Rengar. Hell, we haven't had Ivan from him. We've had Rengar the most. We have had some normality, but there's the Lee Sin. There's things like the Poppy as well that go outside of that. The Kindred, a little bit rarer too. That Tianzhen's tried to pilot, but to no success so far this split. So, the Vi, it's about as easy as it gets when it's about when it kind of comes to what your play pattern should be. Everyone knows what Vi should do. Combo up with one of your laners and just lock down that first target as well as you possibly can. It allows you to reach someone even high mobility like the Ahri or as far as the backline like that of Aphelios. So Tianzhen looking to combo up as well as possible, something which IG have struggled with. I think that's been one of their big kind of downfalls, is that their ability to combo as a team has been a bit off. It has felt like Tianzhen just like, what is happening here, Xiaohao? That's Xiaohao, I guess, but Cryin. I mean,
what? They're like, how did he get there?
Yeah. Oh my God. What an absolute boss. What an absolute
I think he was trying
baller.
to see 30 years into the future. What?
He
What?
was indeed.
Huh?
Zorah also just flashed away.
What are we doing?
But he's a prom. Dude, Flash is a philosophy, not a summoner spell.
It's also a mediocre movie that's just released, so that doesn't make it any less important in this one. I mean, what are we doing here, folks? I mean, I don't get it. Maybe having the level 2 to level 3 in the bot lane, Zorah says, okay, I don't want to take that hook and take a bad trade before I have my... I guess he would have had stand behind me coming up at level 3. I think he already unlocked his shield, so maybe he thought he would be in a bit of danger, but this is odd stuff.
Yep. But it is AL philosophy. Honestly, like, Xiaohao, I expect it. Of course, Zorah burned his flash on our screen moments afterwards. But I will say, I remember Xiaohao's debut into the split. It's kind of like how I remember people like Bo. Who else did we have who was an absolute Chad? Jer. Game 1 on Olaf is harder. Always going to be flashed on by Cryin. Here he goes. Tianzhen's in, but Xiaohao covering, trying to kill Cryin as
he doesn't
Xiaohao,
have flash.
a flash there would be so good. Now trying onto Cryin, he won't die. Imagine if Xiaohao had flash for the play.
This is painful to watch a little bit. I I just don't understand, man. I just don't understand. Normally, you could get an idea of what they're attempting. I suppose in the mid lane play, it was about trying to maybe catch Cryin on a wave that he was pushing in with. Where is this replay going? Okay, it's going back to the start of the TBT. So Harder is the one who is punished for pushing in the wave. This lane has, of course, a lot of CC on either side between the Neny and the Ahri to set up. It's not level 6 just yet. You can see the value which Nocturne has out of his Keystone passive earlier that lethal tempo. The Nocturne does have a lot of damage, but you just don't have the ability to stick to your targets if you don't have the flash.
True. He would just go up topside scuttle after the fact and walk through his camp. Still up in CS, but the kill went over to Cryin for first blood. And Harder also burned his summoner, so... But Tianzhen might be punishable here in the next 30 seconds, seeing if Harder overextends. And Tianzhen can find an angle before 6, but very unlikely as 2 more minions. And Harder will just get the ulti. Cryin gonna burn his first, though. Nice timing window here, as Harder gets to half HP. Now finally has his own.
This is the nature of this matchup. It's one of the reasons, honestly... Oh, okay, ult's on top side.
The boys... Well, Wisecam just walking it out. ZDC getting a good trade, and I guess we stop there.
So both of these solo lane matchups kind of doing the same thing and using the ults to stop the enemy laner from moving, because you have something like a cannon or an Ahri or the Annie in this case. I mean, the Annie's the one kind of initiating this trade, but sometimes you just drop your ultimate to make sure that the other laner doesn't have the HP to walk into river. In this case, it's not going to stop anyone's Legend heading towards their first objective of the game, and as we said, Nocturne does quite well if you're diving into him early because of that lethal temper, but Ibor's missed the memo a bit.
He has, but I think it's a bait. I think IG are the ones who should be looking at the memo, because why would you continue pushing that when jungle's bot side? You just saw them move down onto Dragon. Wink now loses his flash because of it and half HP, and just like that, AL looks like a safer start to Dragon with mid push, with bot push, and a free summoner.
That play looks very different if Iboy does not have Nerves of Steel, but he backstabs well in the bush. Means that the hook does not connect from Wink, and you walk away with a summoner advantage. Dragon is not going to be started up. I think that with kind of various resets coming through, I think that Xiaohao and crew feel like that was not the time, especially with Xiaohao so close to level 6 and camps on the board. He's going back towards Dragon now after getting a couple more camps. I don't think he's going to be interrupted this time.
No, look, the ward's still on the back of the pit, so at least they'll know on the side of IG, but as you were saying, AL feeling pretty confident to start this one up. Harder still having shoved towards mid. And this first Dragon just taken off the back of some very strange passages of play. Now, from this Dragon as well, let's just see, Xiaohao going to be level 6? That's the biggest question. Nymaera? He's close. Won't find it just yet. Tianzhen should be 6 off of this? Yeah. Absolutely. So Top's in trouble.
Has flash, has ult in a couple of seconds. Wisecam doesn't have the best gap close right now without a flash of his own. Going to be on Tianzhen to lock him down.
Lucky timing. Tianzhen was going for Tri-Brush at the time. Ward spots out the edge of his shadow as he just has to leave now, and ZDZ is going to stay safe from the play. You can see as well, Zorah moving topside Nymaera because 8 minutes, Herald is up, and AL putting priority into this basket. Wink doing the same. We're about to get our first fight, like clockwork.
And it is. Level 6 is on the table. Herald is typically determined by who has the best ultimates of the game before you have any of those items built up. Something like that by ultimate has a lot of value. It has to combo into something else. It is about this coordination between the teams. As it stands, Wink and Cryin, they have a really good angle here.
They do indeed, but again, slow from AL to start things off. At the very least, Paranoia used on top of the jungler. This time, flash burned perfectly as Tianzhen drops, but for Herald, you're still going to call that worth, especially with the only kill going down.
And it's also onto the Dark Seal the Ahri bought before that first big fight of the game. So first ultimate gets 2 stacks, a little bit of AP built up for Harder. And if you can continue now playing around this Nocturne Ahri combo and start snowballing, that is a win condition for anyone's Legend, despite the fact that they missed out on that earlier mid lane 2v2.
And let's not forget, Arn stayed bot. He didn't even go topside. AL committed resources up there, and Arn just stayed on bot side turret and took 2 free plates in the meantime. For the team that got Herald, that is ridiculous. That should never happen, Nymaera. Like, how are they allowed to capitalize on both sides of the map at the same time?
Yeah, that is awkward. So despite the kill going over to AL, the overall passage of play probably does go in favor of IG, especially if you can use that Herald as a big power play to keep getting someone like the Zyra ahead. Because suddenly, if you have you know, big Xayah getting those plates and then also getting a Herald dumped into them later. This kind of dive combo into a fed Xayah does not look the same as onto an early level kind of vibe.
Just rough around the edges. IG have got themselves a first item on the Xayah now as well, so aren't in a good spot here despite being down a little bit of CS. That'll change once this wave crashes as Wink waits over the wall. With his Hex Flash, wants to find a little bit of a pick, and when Tianzhen coming in, should be easy, but a Winter's Bite to slow him down. Spotted out as Tianzhen now still lies and waits. Gonna get the ulti. iBoy has double summons available with the depth charge. He'll be kept in place for a little bit, but he's so far away. So they just take what's in front of them, with Arn getting another kill onto Zorah. As meanwhile, Tianzhen so close to dying. Xiaohao with no paranoia. And iBoy not landing the final burst. So IG again, another pick.
I have to say, I was quite surprised that it came out with as clean a kill as it was onto Zorah. You can see the amount of turnaround damage. I think Zorah maybe put himself in a bad position to get locked up by the Vi ultimate, knocked aside by that one. But IG, they walk away with the kill. It's more gold into the side of IG. zhiqiuyi now ulting topside.
Yeah, he is. Mainly for the wave, but I guess damage as well. Can't hurt onto YSKM, who just runs away. That's a 30 CS lead topside, by the way. That's just come out of nowhere despite the top gank attempted before. I
mean, I'm not going to say it's kind of expected to be like a 30 CS lead, but Kennen has always been a Jax answer. We've kind of seen the matchup go a little bit back and forth. In this case, the problem is your junglers just use bot side, and there's a Nocturne on the other side. Every time there's a hard trade, you have to ask yourself, is there an Ahri in my lane with a Nocturne alongside them as well? Because someone like that Jax is not nearly tanky enough to withstand a 2-3-person dive.
The great thing is, as soon as you get that Hextech Alternator as well, some of that poke damage, some of that trading becomes so hard for Jax to withstand. Merc trades aren't going to do much here, and even the Sheen trading you've seen isn't worth talking about. As ZDZ now with the level lead as well, he saw YSKM teleport back in just to take half his health. I mean, Xiaohao now on the top side, Nymaera. Not going to be spotted out, but here, just in case, Tianzhen is as well.
This flash on the cannon would be able to get them out of tower range. Lockdown's recalled, so won't be able to impact that play. So as it stands, Xiaohao not been able to have the impacts he would have loved to very early on into this game. That one kill around Herald was nice. You can see the blueprint for what you can do with these combos later on. Luckily, the lanes from Anyone's Legend are doing more than fine enough, particularly in this top side. This is going to be such a big problem. And because the cannon now has flash and teleport available for the next play, you need to be very careful about your next Herald play. If there's a ward behind you, particularly because Unleashed Teleport is available, see Herald being dropped.
Zorah's going to check it in, but depth charge hitting iBoy again. That's a gravitum to hold them in place as Xiaohao thinks about paranoia. You can see that Harder's also willing to come in as IG have committed 4 members to the bottom side of the map. It is going to be match, and Nymaera, as you said, teleport is available there, while Herald at least giving some gold to Arn, who was already benefiting off that open bot side during the Herald take.
Yeah, still a win for Invictus Gaming throughout this play. Anyone's Legend couldn't get themselves the big turnaround play that they would have liked. I think they're really hoping for IG to overcommit and then for a teleport or a big Ahri ult to come in to kind of start cleaning up the play. iBoy already starting to threaten with his ultimates on the other side of things. So very interested to see where the next Nocturne ult comes in. Feels like with the Herald off the table, they feel a little bit more free to make a big play. They're starting up this Dragon, trying to hold the Invictus Gaming lanes away from the river.
Will be second one for AEL. Give them a good stack in this game as Tianzhen wants to steal it, but over the wall, ambitious. He gets charmed straight away. Paranoia turns off the lights and he's nuked out of existence, but iBoy now in a bad spot with Arn free, hitting him, Ignite, flash forward. Arn on the Xayah having a great old time as he now has to face the fury of Zorah and pause that because there's none. ZDZ chasing up Wink and he comes in like a wrecking ball with Harder picking up a double. It's a 3 for 2 in favor of AL, and they got the Dragon. Somehow they cleaned that up nicely.
That is a great fight for Anyone's Legend. Harder is the big beneficiary, picks up 3 kills with the Dark Seal in there as well. 8 stacks. This is genuinely getting towards the point where this Ahri could be a huge damage threat. IG needs to be very careful now if they kind of like throw a fight so loosely towards them again. Something like this Nocturne, again, if they go uninterrupted in these fights, does a lot of damage, gets a huge amount of burst onto the Vi very early on, and suddenly the Vi just doesn't get the follow-up Q onto iBoy. It allows him to put down a turret and get a little bit more damage. it starts off the snowball coming in from Anyone's Legend. That's before you had the cannon ult, which we saw just there. And while at least there are a couple of kills going back the other way, when the fights get more broken, it does feel like Anyone's Legend have had the advantage.
God, that solo lane synergy working wonders there. Is harder 4-1, as you said, but might even be more. Arn has no ulti from the fight. Easy charm. 5-1, man. Ari just smurfing on these kids.
I want to see him Edgos, man. I want to see it. He's at full stacks on the Dark Seal, and if you, this is the kind of game you want to do it with it, right? Especially with Anyone's Legend in a point where they are starting to snowball. You're using these combos well. You got max stats on that item. You have your mythic item already. It's a great cheap bump of power. That'll be so important for them. Harder really starting to take over this game.
Level 11 as well. Everfrost will be developing into second item shortly. Harder sitting in side lane completely by himself. Minion Wave will help him out in a quick moment to get that that bottom top tier turret. Holy crap, let's try English again. Bottom tier 1 turret. Holy moly, one language and absolutely flub it. I did do it. We got there in the end, but hey, I mean, Harder will as well. So Wisecam can't do a thing. Gold goes into his pocket alone. They are going to try and kill him. But Wisecam, as he comes in, his charm disconnects. It's hard. I mean, Spirit Rush, and just like that, you're out.
You had Flash, had Spirit Rush, had the Everfrost as well. So very, very safe in the side lane. Looks like Harder's going towards something like that Banshee second to just stop himself being completely zeroed out by something like an Neny on the side. It means that at least Cryin loses a lot of agency in this game. This is just electrocute landing. Great ability to trade through the minion wave. And what I've really liked from Harder this game, and this is a, I'm going to paraphrase something that Azael says about World of Warcraft PvP, which is you use your less important cooldowns to force more important things from the enemy. And if you hold onto your charm long enough, it's not really like a huge trade at that point. It means it's just so guaranteed afterwards. Looks like a guaranteed kill here as well, the Nocta.
It is. Paranoia, nuke him down. I mean, Counter-Strike gives him a bit of time. Wisecam tries, but ZDZ is another fierce force. As Xiaohao showing us too, while IG try and break open the top side of this map, but there's threats everywhere else.
IG feels like they just don't have control anyway, does it? Wisecam, first pick on this Jax. We know he has a shallow champion pool, but he's been really punished this game. ZDZ having an awesome game himself, and Harder, the other solo lane, taking accounts into his own hands. So really, what are the options from IG? They're trying to combo up somewhere. They have a teleport and a flash from Wisecam should a player erupt somewhere after he has respawned. But Tianzhen, poor guy, had himself an okay early play in that mid lane CV2 and a couple of the Herald plays afterwards, but the leads just haven't been there for him to combo on the top side of the map.
No, it really feels like the only person who's been benefiting off this game, having a clean performance, feels like Arn, I guess. I mean, the bot side got time alone. That's why you see Navori Quickblades picked up here by the Xayah, sharing some of the gold from the Rift Herald play. There's an advantage to say the least. So right now, Nymaera, as third dragon comes up, we need to look at IG's 80 carry, maybe even Cryin aside that mix. What can they do? Because AL, they might not be in the same item parity for people like iBoy, but we know that that all-in is up again with ZDZ's flash, 20 seconds off cooldown with the ult. Xiaohao's ult as well, Harder, having summoners and his ulti too. There are a lot of easy tools that AL have been showing off so far in their fights.
Yeah, to bring it back to the question of, what do IG do? It has to start with trying to get into River first or making AL's life very hard to get in towards it.
Oh, an attempt. Is that one bit? Okay, onto Zorah. They're using things on Brom. Stun is now down. But as you said, getting a River first, I mean, that looks hard. Everfrost, poke, Wisecam at half health. That makes Dragon a little bit harder.
Yeah, you just can't allow AL to set up in the terrain. He has to teleport back into the fray now. There's a flank teleport coming in from AL, though. I think this is a great timing from ZDZ.
With Wisecam going to be slow to the punch, ZDZ is cleansing out the wards. IG are like, where is that little rat? As this Paranoia puts out the light, ZDZ, get ready, strap yourself in to the electric chair! Ooh, it's over. ZDZ will die, but AL will clean up the rest with Wisecam counter-striking, but no, it's an orb of deception, and AL clean them out.
Anyone's Legend are just so much more coordinated than Invictus Gaming. As soon as the lights go out, it feels like so does the EKG machine as well. Heartbeat stop for every single member on the side of Invictus Gaming. It is so rough. You're walking away with so much more gold to face against, and this is precisely why it feels so bad to have to walk into AL when they're already on the objective, when they're already on the river. You have to already go into a Braum, but you're opening yourself up to be dove onto by the Nocturne and the cannon flying into the backline as well. And yeah, you know, ZDZ dies on the backline, and at least there are some kills going to the side of YSKM, but you still lose the Dragon, you still lose the fight handedly.
Well, AL's coaching staff, just like, hey, it's a win of a fight. Harder, by the way, 7-1 and 2. Despite ZDZ, kind of shocking and awing. I mean, that was 4.1k damage.
That's nuts.
And he did die pretty quick, to be fair. So that's pretty good.
No exhaust, man. I mean, you don't have an exhaust anywhere on the side of IG. It's something that you'd love to have against the cannon, but you'd love to just win lane as well. Tianzhen's going in.
Okay, well, trying to follow up on Zorah. Cryin's also TP'd onto iBoy. Great target selection as Gravitum keeps them from getting near, but Paranoia lines them up as yet again harder. Look at the angle over the wall. ZDZ's only a one-man, but harder, better, faster, stronger from the Ahri. Yet again, ignores Wink, leaves for ZDZ. The ulti from iBoy doesn't connect, but the charm does. This guy, we do not talk about him this much, but today, he is in the spotlight for a reason.
And I absolutely love it when you see Ahri players take that active role in the game, be the setup, but also be the damage. Harder is having a magnificent game on the champion, and it's really allowing Anyone's Legend to take the initial burst of a fight and then roll over into these full clean aces.
Is this his best game we've ever seen in the LPL? I mean, I feel like I never talk about this guy. Look at the replay again, because Nymaera, IG did TP for this. They had numbers at first.
They did, but they're delayed so much, and Cryin, despite him having, you know, the Annie, which he's had a lot of success on, he's only hitting the one target, and in an even game state, having that only one target being the AD carry, that would be fine, but you have another damage threat on the field at this point. You have several, right? The Cannon's part of that, the Ahri's part of it too, and because Harder went towards that Shadow Flame second, there's a little bit more flat magic pen and more burst, and he has finally got the Magi's. I will say, this is one of my annoying points, he's going to immediately die now, it's the way of things.
Oh no, he is indeed. Golden waiting for Paranoia, hang on, he's got Spirit Rush, he might have a stack, he got a kill, he's back over. Everfrost doesn't connect, but onto Wink, he's a one-shot. ZDZ taking the kill, and Nymaera,
this guy!
You might have jinxed it in a good way for him.
I gotta say, this is always the curse. Even the curse of the Magi's cannot stop Harder.
Tianzhen just trying to run back to base, but ZDZ gets a stun, and walking in has never been so easy for Xiaohao. Now the Cannon lining up his stats as well, as 19-6, suddenly a 10k gold lead. AL are dismantling IG in very firm fashion.
Will say, one of my pet peeves is that if you get a load of kills when you're stuck at 10 stacks in the Dark Seal, you've effectively lost Magi stacks. If you'd gotten this Magi's the second time, you would be on 25 stacks and utterly flying away. Now, Harder's playing very well. It's not going to change the outcome of this game. But at this point now, you're up beyond those 10 stacks, has a Zhonya's to protect those stacks as well. I really love the aggressive thinking, the proactive thinking from Harder. This one's a little bit awkward, right? But he already had the stopwatch in inventory. Just sitting on the stopwatch for that one-use active is so important because it stops the full one-shot coming through. It allows you to get this first kill through. And when you have a lot of damage on Ahri, damage is safety because it allows you to get resets more easily. Your heal on your passive scales off of AP and allows you to get turnarounds like that.
That's a good point. And as you said, I mean, look, 3 and a bit items. This guy is now going to be destroying people like and Cryin as they all in. I mean, even iBoy and Zorah, what you'd say are the weakest members of this game, are feeling themselves as well. As AL set up bottom side, it's Cryin who's by himself in top. But the problem is that AL have the Baron. You are splitting as an Annie versus a Baroned up team. I guess IG just saying, like, what else can we do?
There are very few options. You really would look for that AoE teamfight engage, but you don't have flash on Cryin. That would be one of your huge moments you'd be looking for. Tianzhen as well, also not had the same amount of ability to go towards that. Multiple inhibs falling. This is the moment, IG. That ain't the
trade.
money, IG.
Look at the synergy. The absolute synergy with timing. Thomas the tank engine couldn't even line him up that well.
They've all loaded into the Millennium Falcon. Punch it, Chewie. Go to hyperspace.
AL now sitting in brush. I mean, they're waiting for IG to walk in. YSCam, by the way, TP'd to that top ward and wasn't able to pull off any kind of flank. As this is Dragon Soul, and walking into an RE, oh, that hurts. They're going to get a dredge line, but to his death as Paranoia to fly in. Guess who's frontlining? For some reason, Cryin just standing there as ZDZ doing it again. YSCam flashes for the solo kill, but doesn't get that either. And IG are wiped once more with the teleport to seal the deal. And Harder 12-1-8. Remember this day. This guy has popped off, and I feel like he's getting some respect finally on Summoner's Rift.
25 stacks on the book. And I have to say, Harder, walking away from this game, it's the little things which I appreciate. Now, of course, I watch an awful lot of RE play. We all do now, because it's such a priority pro champion. But I, as an RE main myself, I look at the way that he... So, for instance, it's kind of like when you play Tristana, right? Where sometimes you will leave a kill and you'll